Hillary Clinton endorsing Biden there. You saw the former Secretary of State and First Lady teased her endorsement earlier today with this tweet. This was ahead of former Vice President Biden's virtual town hall, on the effects of coronavirus on women. Here's the moment that Clinton actually gave Biden her endorsement.
So I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed you to be our president. Just think of what a difference it would make right now if we had a president who not only listened to the science, put facts over fiction, but brought us together, showed the kind of compassion and caring that we need from our president, and which Joe Biden has been exemplifying throughout his entire life.
CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now. Caitlin, I got to tell you, first off, it's just fascinating seeing this virtual endorsement happening. But what does it mean? You and I often talk about endorsements on the campaign trail. What does it mean for Biden to have Hillary Clinton back him?
Hi, Reena. Well, these unity rallies are now online. So this is the modern campaign in the age of coronavirus. This has been a challenge for the Biden campaign to kind of keep up some momentum and stay relevant as the pandemic is going on, and they're figuring out different ways to do that. One of the ways to kind of get attention is week by week, they've been unveiling these big endorsements, and the theme around all of these endorsements is unity. The Biden campaign really wants to stress that this is a Democratic Party united. And so part of that is bringing in someone like Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, the Clinton campaign of 2016 has loomed large over the Democratic primary. You've had voters and candidates alike discussing the lessons learned from 2016, how to win back voters they lost in 2016 or voters who didn't show up at all. But you also have to consider that Hillary Clinton is a monumental figure still in the Democratic Party. She was the first woman nominee to be president from a major party. She broke a lot of barriers that way. Of course, former Secretary of State and a former senator from New York and a former First Lady. You heard in her endorsement of Joe Biden a couple of things that I think are noteworthy and kind of signals of how she can be helpful to Biden going forward. First, she can kind of advise him on some things. She has run against Donald Trump before. She could talk about her own lessons learned and strategy there. She also talked a lot about the pandemic. Of course, as Secretary of State, this is something that would have fallen into her purview during her tenure. So that is something that she could talk about. Unlike some of these other endorsements that we've seen from Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, those endorsements were an attempt to kind of bridge divides in the party and bring over some progressive voters who may have been reluctant about accepting Biden. Hillary Clinton's endorsement isn't really like that. I imagine that a lot of voters who liked Clinton are going to be inclined to Biden no matter what. But this is a way for the party to show unity and to kind of gather up some expertise. It's interesting, too, that Clinton and Biden, of course, were also former rivals in 2008. And Biden has said over the course of his campaign and before that he would have been able to beat Donald Trump. And so a lot of lessons learned from 2016 that will be folded into the Biden campaign.
You know, it's not surprising, Caitlin, that Hillary Clinton would endorse Joe Biden. In fact, pretty much expected. But the timing of it is kind of interesting. You know, this coming after the publication Business Insider appeared to corroborate parts of an accusation of sexual assault against Biden. This was made by a former Senate staffer, Tara Reid. They spoke to Reid's former neighbor, who says that she told her about the allegations in the mid-90s. How's the Biden camp responding to these allegations?
That's right. Well, the Biden campaign has denied these allegations outright, but this does pose several big challenges. For starters, Democrats have set a really high bar, claiming the moral high ground a couple of years ago by ousting Senator Franken from the Senate and, of course, during the Kavanaugh hearings. And so it's been really interesting to watch several supporters of Joe Biden, who are women, say that they stand by Biden. And so we'll kind of wait to see what the further response is. It's noteworthy, though, that Biden has not had a press conference or a presser with reporters since earlier this month. He has done a lot of interviews on various television programs and other outlets, and he has not been asked about these allegations in any of those interviews. He's also appeared in public digitally through fundraisers that are open to the press, to a pooled press, and town halls like this one, and he has not been asked about it in any of those formats as well. So we'll wait to kind of see, but this is something that is going to continue to be some kind of an issue, and we already see the president's campaign really highlighting this as well.
You know, Caitlin, Biden's supposed to announce a selection committee to help him choose a VP. That announcement expected this Friday. Do we know who might be making up that committee? And also, do we have a sense of who's on the short list for VP?
That's right. The Veep stakes are going to be underway, and the Biden campaign has already kind of narrowed down the field earlier last month by saying that he's definitely going to pick a woman. So that does narrow the field a little bit. There are names like Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, Gretchen Whitmer, Amy Klobuchar, and others. A lot of them have been kind of auditioning in public, some joining Joe Biden himself on his new podcast that he's been having, others giving interviews in various media outlets to kind of show some strength that way. And he's also under real critical pressure to pick a woman of color, especially a Black woman. There have been a lot of groups and a lot of supporters of former Vice President Joe Biden who want him to pick a Black woman because they say, and we've seen this in electoral politics, that Black women are really the backbone of the Democratic Party right now and driving the party and really a key component of the Democratic base. And so you're going to see that pressure build as he starts to form this committee and starts the vetting process.
I can see why, you know, people would say they would want a person of color in that position. But Caitlin, he does really well with the Black community, as we saw in South Carolina, and picking a VP. So much of that is important to what else he can bring as far as garnering other votes. Is that a calculus that they're aware of as well and factoring in as they choose a VP? Because, I mean, you look at his age and you look that we're in the middle of a pandemic that could possibly last for a significant part of his administration. Are they conscious of the fact that there could be this vice presidential candidate who might really have to step in and serve as president?
All of these are factors, certainly, and I do think it's important to note how the pandemic is likely going to shape his selection process. Do you want someone who has experience in this, not only perhaps leading at an executive level like a governor, but also someone who may have experience in the economy? The economic fallout of this, of course, is going to linger beyond this pandemic, and that is going to be something that the administration, whether it's Trump's or a Biden administration, is going to have to deal with. Those are certainly factors. And there, of course, are the considerations to make. Do you try to pick someone who you believe can help your electoral chances? Do you pick someone that you're most comfortable with? I can say, after talking to people that have been involved in past selection process and selections, they say that the common factor is picking someone who you can really get along with, who you trust, and who can kind of really just do a lot of the things that they need to do. So this is a really critical job, and it's also the first real test for what an administration would look like, what kinds of decisions, and how a president would make decisions. That's all wrapped up in this selection process.
A lot of people watching to see exactly who he will pick as a running mate. Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you very much for joining us.